sellout crowd of better than 80,000 on hand at Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where yesterday the roof is closed as Fox NFL Sunday presents a 4-1 Atlanta Falcons coming to the Lone Star State to battle the 3-2 Cowboys. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to the NFL on Fox. Troy, there's very little doubt after our visit with the Cowboys 2 days ago, they feel this is a very important game in their season. The difference between 4-2 and 3-3 and beating a bona fide contender in the Atlanta Falcons.
In fact, so important that owner Jerry Jones came out this week and said a win today would legitimize this football team. To do that, they're going to have to play better than what they have in recent weeks. But we're going to get a chance here today, Tom, to see the Cowboys the way they had intended to look when they came into this season, and that is with three healthy, explosive running backs. Marion Barber healthy, Felix Jones back after missing the last couple of games, and then, of course, Tashard Choice. All three of those guys expecting to have big games today.
As for the Atlanta Falcons, this is clearly a team on the rise in the NFC. A year ago, they won 11 games. They went to the playoffs, led by a rookie quarterback in Matt Ryan, who appears to be getting better here in year two.
Playing with great confidence, and because of that, this entire team's playing with confidence. This is a Falcons team that wants to run the ball. Haven't been real good doing it compared to what they did a year ago. Today, they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more, and they'll be doing it against the Cowboys secondary that has had some problems.
Let's check in downstairs with Pam Oliver.
Well, Tom, Atlanta will face a very average Dallas run defense without two of their top weapons. Running back Jarius Norwood is out with a hip flexor. Fullback Obi Mahaley practiced for the first time on Friday, but he is a scratch with the calf injury. Tony Romo and company may benefit from his fortune in the Falcons secondary as quarterback Brian Williams blew out his knee versus Chicago last week. He's done for the year. Back to you.
Pam, thanks so much. Atlanta has won the toss, selected to receive, so they will get the football behind second-year quarterback Matt Ryan. David Beeler set to kick it away, and waiting back at the goal line is Eric Weems, who had a big return setting up the game-winning score a week ago against Chicago. So Beeler puts a foot on it, and Weems, 7 yards deep, will take a knee. Matt Ryan, 24 years old, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, leads this Atlanta offense. Michael Turner, the second leading rusher in the NFL a season ago. Some key injuries, as Pam mentioned a moment ago. Tony Gonzalez has been a monster addition to this offense. Play fake, the throw to Gonzalez, and he's out to the 26-yard line. Chopped down by Gerald Sensabaugh, who's back in the lineup. He broke his thumb, you may remember, in the Denver game and missed the game at Kansas City. Get a look at Dallas defensively. Brady James, their leading tackler the last 4 years, and of course Brooking, an Atlanta Falcon his entire career until this season. Gonzalez, back-to-back receptions to begin the game, and that one good enough for a first down. We welcome those of you who just watched Minnesota lose for the first time this season. The interception down in the red zone, run the other way for a touchdown, and the Steelers have now won 5 in a row. This is Michael Turner. Runs through a tackler and is stopped after a gain of almost 2. Jay Ratliff, coming off a Pro Bowl season, there to make the tackle along with Ken Hamlin.
Yeah, no, Tom, you look at this Atlanta offense, and certainly with Mike Mularkey and what they were able to do last year running the football, they haven't been able to run it with the same consistency this season, but yet the defenses still understand coming into a game that you better be able to stop their running game or you're going to have some major problems. Even though Atlanta throwing the ball on first and second down, still getting 8-man fronts.
Turner breaks it to the outside, and what a nice play made by Mike Jenkins. His first year as a starter since taking over for Anthony Henry. That's a good tackle.
Well, Michael Turner, not an easy guy to get down once he gets out, into the open field. But if you're going to be able to have some success against a running team, you better have corners that'll come up and be willing to make a tackle.
3rd down and 8. Reception made out of the backfield by Veron Hayes, and that is good enough for a 1st down.
So much about this Cowboys defense is their ability to get pressure on the quarterback. That will be the key in this ball game. But Matt Ryan and this offensive line doing a good job of affording him the time to sit back there and throw the ball. 3rd and long, secondary plays deep. They come underneath. Good job of knowing where he had to get to pick up that 1st down.
10-yard pickup on 3rd and 8. They move the chains, and a good start for Matt Ryan. You can't do it much better than that.
Well, if they keep giving him that kind of time, Matt Ryan's going to have a big day.
Ryan rolling, and he'll step out of bounds a yard short of midfield. That's a gain of 6 on 1st down for Atlanta.
I think for those that haven't had an opportunity to watch much of this Atlanta team, or specifically Matt Ryan, they probably don't know that he's a pretty athletic guy. I mean, he's an impressive quarterback, as impressive a young quarterback as I've seen. He has great accuracy, but he also can throw well on the run, and if it's not there, or if they're respecting the pass, as we saw, he can certainly tuck it and run with it.
7th play this opening drive, and Turner about a yard short of a 1st down. You talk about Ryan, of course, last year became only the 2nd rookie quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 3,000 yards in a season. The other guy to do that, Peyton Manning. Ryan threw 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions for his first-year head coach Mike Smith. Smith, the NFL Coach of the Year. 50 years old, out of Daytona Beach, Florida. You said it best, Troy. He's an easy guy to root for.
Well, he sure is, and a guy who some knew because of his background at Jacksonville, but I think a little bit of a surprise when he was named the head coach for the Falcons. But what a great job he's done.
Snelling, the first man through, and the 2nd effort and a 3rd effort gets him 1st down yardage down to the Dallas 45-yard line.
Well, you called it, Tom. Initially, Dallas stopping Snelling before he was actually able to pick up that 1st down. He just kept his legs going. And with 2nd and 3rd effort, he was then able to get the 1st down.
Atlanta team went 11-5 last season with a rookie quarterback. They got beat in the opening round of the playoffs. Flea flicker. Ryan airing it out down the field and really just threw it away. First time he's felt some pressure the entire afternoon. It came from who else? DeMarcus Ware.
Interesting call there by offensive coordinator Mike Mularkey 2 weeks ago against the Kansas City Chiefs. They ran a similar play and had an open receiver fail to connect, and the reason is these safeties generally like to hit and get up active in the run defense. You try to test them out early, make sure that that secondary is not overplaying the run. Dallas does a good job of staying deep, and then of course pressure there on Matt Ryan.
Roddy White, his first catch of the afternoon, and he's inside the 40, down to the 38-yard line.
3rd down and 3.
This Atlanta offense, we talk about it as far as, with a rookie quarterback a year ago and how much they had to rely on running the football, ran the ball as much as anybody in football on 1st and 10 last year. This year that's changed a little bit. Still heavy run, but they are throwing the ball more. Part of that because Matt Ryan in his 2nd season, and the other part of it is they haven't had near the success that they were having last year with the running game.
3rd and 3. Finneran inside the 25, down to the 24, another Falcons 1st down.
Well, they put the other receivers to one side. They got Brian Finneran a one receiver route on the backside, and he runs a slant. A good route there by Brian Finneran. Being able to get some separation and a pretty easy connection there for the first down. Here's the opposite side, same combination there. And those two ran into each other. Good thing Matt Ryan was working opposite.
Well, Roddy White hammering Michael Jenkins. Runner on first down. Avoids a tackle. And is down to the 19-yard line. Wade Phillips, 62 years old, a native Texan. In his third year with the Cowboys, he's won 25 while losing 13 in Dallas. Took them to the playoffs 2 years ago. They failed to get there despite 9 wins a year ago. And seems like every other week he's feeling the heat along with that guy, Tony Romo. 13th play of the drive. Snelling inside the 10 and barrels his way inside the 5. Snelling getting playing time today, as Pam mentioned a moment ago. With injuries to Jarius Norwood and Obi Mahaley, we're going to see a lot of Snelling and Verron Haynes.
Well, the action in the backfield held the backside pursuit from being able to collapse, on Jason Snelling, and a good job on that left side of the offensive line getting a push. Jason Snelling, as you mentioned, he's playing for Jarius Norwood, and a guy that they have great confidence in, and he is off to a good start.
Empty backfield, and Ryan just throws it away.
They try to come right back with the slant. DeMarcus Ware, however, you're anticipating that he's going to be rushing. Instead, he's the guy who took this away. Immediately he comes underneath trying to eliminate the quick throw. And as we have seen from Matt Ryan in virtually every game, rarely do you see him try to force anything. He sees the field well. He has great vision. And when it's not there, as we just saw, willing to just throw it away.
15th play of the drive. 2nd and goal. Turner. Shot down. Maybe picked up a yard. Sensabaugh coming up to make the stop.
And this is such an important part of what the Atlanta Falcons are all about. Once they get into the red zone, whether that's on offense or whether it's on defense, they're one of the best in the league coming away with touchdowns once they get to this part of the field.
Touchdown, Roddy White.
Pass complete to White.
So on 3rd and goal.
Well, you look at what Atlanta did offensively there. They put Gonzalez to Matt Ryan's left. They put him as a single receiver, and then they do trips right here. And typically, if you get one-on-one to Gonzalez, that's where Ryan's going to go with the football. Instead, he works the 3-receiver side, and they just outflank Terrence Newman.
What an opening drive by the Falcons on the road here in Dallas. 16 plays spanning 80 yards. Matt Ryan hitting on 6 of 8. What a way to start it for the Falcons. Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys get the football for the first time, trailing 7-0. And Romo comes out throwing on first down, hit as he threw, and it's incomplete. Under heavy pressure from Jamal Anderson. Romo, 30 wins against 14 losses as a Dallas starter, and has his full complement of running backs healthy again, as Troy mentioned a moment ago, and Marion Barber, Felix Jones, and Tashard Choice. That offensive line, a heavy penalized offensive line so far this year. Barber dropped behind the line of scrimmage. Troy Bierman, the first Atlanta defender there. Of course, Abraham coming off a great season last year. Curtis Lofton led him in tackles as a rookie a season ago. Mike Peterson replaces Brooking in the linebacking core, and they're without Brian Williams, who was injured last week, a knee injury. He'll be out for the year, so Brent Grimes and Chris Houston are the starting corners. Third and long for Romo. Good protection. Guns it over the middle, and it's dropped by Roy Williams.
Well, the guy that the Cowboys have to be able to neutralize is John Abraham, one of the best pass rushers in all of football. They come out and they chip him, give Flozell Adams a little bit of help with Tashard Choice. It provides a pocket there for Tony Romo and a well-thrown ball, and a ball that Roy Williams just has to catch.
Williams in his first full season as a Cowboy came over in the trade from Detroit. Caught 19 passes in 10 games last year. Jerry Jones said earlier this week he still thinks the trade is going to work out fine. Weems plays it on a bounce in good field position for the Falcons, leading 7-0. Williams missing a chance to keep that Cowboy drive alive.
Today's game is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's. Let's build something together. By Ford. Drive one. And by McDonald's.
Great opening drive offensively for the Falcons, and a 3-and-out defensively for Atlanta.
Well, you talk about just taking the crowd right out of the game. I mean, here they got here today, excited about, a good matchup. Atlanta on their first possession, right down the field for a touchdown, and the Cowboys come back and 3-and-out.
Ryan to throw on first down. Catch is made by Brian Finneran. Did he catch it, or are they saying incomplete? Now they say incomplete.
But Atlanta now is going to their no huddle. They ran it last week against Chicago. They show it from time to time. It's something that is discussed on Saturday night as to when they may elect to go with it in the game. They've had great success.
Behind Finneran. Flag down. And that's in the backfield.
Chop block, 62 offense, 15-yard penalty, second down.
That's Todd McClure, their center.
See him right in the middle, and it's once he's engaged. Then with the right guard, Harvey Dahl, it didn't look like there was any malicious intent, but once he went low, you can't do that. Once a blocker is engaged with a defender, you can't have an adjoining offensive lineman then use a cut block. Todd McClure, he's not a real big guy by NFL standards. He's 300 pounds, but boy, next to the rest of that group, he sure doesn't look it.
Down goes Ryan. For the first time in quite some time, Marcus Spears was there. The Falcons had gone nearly 18 quarters and 143 consecutive pass plays without Ryan getting sacked.
Yeah, Marcus Spears, he just goes right through Harvey Dahl over there on the right side. And you're right. I mean, that's rare. Not only has Matt Ryan not been sacked much this year, but he rarely is even under much pressure.
A third and a ton, and Ryan dropped again. And that'll be a sack because they got him about a yard behind the line of scrimmage. And for DeMarcus Ware, that's 3 sacks in a game and a quarter.
Well, Atlanta's trying to run everybody vertical, thinking maybe they could take a shot down the field, and and pick up the first down. They've got to hold it then in the pocket in order to let everyone get down the field. Nothing there. Matt Ryan just tucked it and tried to get what he could.
Allen Rawson was shaken up on that kick return. The first time he touched the ball as a Dallas Cowboy. So Patrick Creighton has his job back now, returning punts. And he takes a vicious hit at the 42-yard line by Mike Schneck. The Cowboy offense when we return. Atlanta out to a 7-0 lead, 3:54 to play in the opening quarter.
You take a look right there. All three running backs, Tashard Choice, Marion Barber, and Felix Jones in the ball game. Felix Jones split out wide.
And now all three in the backfield. They pitch it to Jones. Tries to turn the corner and is chopped down after a gain of 3. Let's check in downstairs with Pam Oliver.
Well, Tom, punt returner Allen Rawson is supposed to help improve the Cowboys' return game, which is ranked 25th in the league, 21st in the league. But it's a quick debut, and he won't get a chance. Rawson has a right hamstring injury and is doubtful for the rest of the day. Back to you.
Pam, thank you very much. Of course, Rawson, the only player in NFL history to have a kickoff return for a touchdown with 5 different teams in his career.
41, 744 Clancer. 41, 744 Clancer. 180.
On a 2nd and 7, a little delay to Barber, and he is thrown to the deck by Jamal Anderson. Let's send it back to Los Angeles for a game break to Kurt Menefee.
New Orleans in Miami. Drew Brees had thrown only 2 interceptions all season, but this one was costly. Picked off by Tyrone Culver. He returns it down to the 4-yard line. Ricky Williams scored on the Wildcat, and the Dolphins have a 7-0 lead over the Saints. Tom, Troy, and Pam.
Kurt, thank you very much. After seeing Drew Brees last week, I thought all he did was throw a touchdown. Leonard Davis and Jamal Anderson.
Ball start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Tom, we saw Jamal Anderson on that previous play get into the backfield there and make the tackle. And, you know, he's been playing a lot more at defensive tackle, and that's where he was. And by moving him down to the defensive tackle position, it allows Croy Bierman then to get more snaps at defensive end. And really, you strengthen 2 positions. Jamal Anderson, a first-round pick who has not had a great deal of success in the early going in his career.
It looked like Jason Witten started early.
Ball start. Number 82 offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
You know, we talked about how penalized this Dallas Cowboy team has been so far this year. Just look at the 5 offensive linemen alone.
They got great field position on this drive, and they're just moving backwards.
3rd down and 18 for Romo. Flushed out of the pocket. Still on his feet. And is the ball loose? Falcons are saying the ball came loose as Romo was trying to dive for a first down. Still no signal on the field. Can't blame the effort for Romo. He was trying to get to the stick. This play will be challenged.
Yeah, I think that's coming back because Romo's left knee was on the ground prior to the ball coming loose. Here's another look at the end of that play with Tony Romo as he's going to the ground, and his left knee, as you will see, is clearly down prior to the ball coming loose.
Romo shaken up clearly once he got back up on his feet, and they're still making sure everything's aligned over on that sideline as we await the challenge of Wade Phillips.
Well, I think now, I think with the officials, that they look at this and they say, okay, he was down, and then they've got to determine, where the spot of the ball is, because he's not going to get the first down.
The quarterback's knee was down with possession of the ball. Prior to losing possession of the ball will be placed at the 49-yard line of Atlanta's. It'll be 4th down and 2 yards to go.
On a 4th and 2, apparently no debate as to what Wade Phillips was going to do. Still in the opening quarter, a 7-0 game. Ball at midfield. He's going to punt it.
But it looked like Romo may have taken a shot to the head. I mean, it looked like that's what they were kind of checking him out for over on the sidelines with the medical staff.
Matt McBride has been terrific hitting the opposition inside the 20. Did it 5 times in one game against Carolina. And a fair catch signal for and fielded cleanly by Eric Weems. Well, the Cowboys are still taking a look at Tony Romo. Well, as they continue to look at Tony Romo, get a look at the head and the neck. He took a hit, and then the neck snapped back, and the head hit the field of play again. They already have ice on the neck, and the backup quarterback John Kitna is getting loose. Matt Ryan and the Falcons from their own 15. Snelling for a couple of yards on first down, tackled by Brady James.
It really is interesting when you start looking deep into this offensive unit for Atlanta as to why they're not having as much success as what they were able to have a year ago. And 4 of the 5 games that they've played this year, they have failed to run the ball for an average of 4 yards per carry. And that in and of itself is not unusual. That was fairly consistent even last year, but what they've lacked is the big breakaway runs that they led the league with a year ago.
And not much running room on 2nd down for Turner. He's run down by Jason Hatcher.
But I think the one thing about it, Tom, with Atlanta is right now they're playing the game that they want to play. I mean, they came down on that first possession. They got the touchdown. They're up 7 points, and even though here in the early going they're not running the ball very well, they are not going to get away from it. I mean, as long as this game is close or they're playing with a lead, they're going to continue to pound it. That's Mike Mularkey's MO. That's what this team's about. It opens up the play action, and then eventually they'll start taking some shots down the field.
Ryan throws into heavy traffic to Gonzalez, and it's broken up by Ken Hamlin, so 3 and out for the Dallas defense.
Well, they bring linebacker blitz on that play. They bring Bobby Carpenter as well as Brady James. These guys do a good job with their blitz packages, the linebackers do, and then you've got Hamlin driving on this throw.
So that's the end of the opening quarter. 7-0 Atlanta in front. To the injury to Allen Rawson, Patrick Creighton is again returning punts for the Cowboys. Very short punt by Kanan. Takes a Falcons bounce. And for the 2nd straight series, it'll be very good field position for the Dallas offense. And Tony Romo is back on the field. We're told he's got a strain in his neck, but that he's all right. Some of the quarterback play from earlier today, all winners. Tom Brady with the Patriots over in London against Tampa Bay. A bounce back win for San Diego after that loss against Denver. And Aaron Rodgers and the Packers beginning to play well. We'll see them next week at Lambeau with Brett Favre coming to town.
Good day for all 3 of those guys. I'll tell you, Phillip Rivers, what I've had a chance to see of him. what a player he is. Doesn't get discussed a lot, but he's off to a heck of a year, even though that team has struggled somewhat.
Marty Booker in motion. And dropped off to Witten, the tight end. That'll be a gain of close to 6. Of course, later tonight, Game 6 of the American League Championship Series after they were rained out last night. The Angels trying to force it to Game 7 in the Bronx against Andy Pettitte and the Yankees. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific after the OT in high definition only on Fox. Romo guns it over the middle to Roy Williams, and that's a first down inside the 40.
Well, Brent Grimes, who's making his start because Brian Williams injured his knee last week, and you see it's just a slant route, and Brent Grimes playing soft, playing outside, and all Roy Williams has to do is just take off and get in there. But a good job at the end of this by Brent Grimes at least making the tackle, because Roy Williams had some room to run.
Great protection. Witten open down the middle of the field. He's still on his feet and tackled to the 17-yard line.
They do a good job of blocking up the blitz off the edge, and because of that, it puts John Abraham one-on-one with Jason Witten. You know, they're anticipating that they can get there with pressure, and if you don't, then you're compromised in the defense with a defensive end trying to maintain position with one of the best tight ends in football.
Felix Jones level. There have been some vicious hits by Atlanta defensively in the early part of this game. Lofton along with Jonathan Babineau on the stop there of Felix Jones, who's playing for the first time since spraining a knee ligament in his left knee against Carolina. He's back for the first time in 3 weeks. He's averaging over 9 yards a carry.
And the Falcons are showing blitz again.
Hey, 26.
Throw a little bit short to Jones, who makes a catch after a gain of 2. Third down upcoming.
That's something that you just don't see much from Felix Jones. Of course, he's missed the last few games because of injury. But even going back to last year, he only played 6 games because of the injury that he had last season. But he only had 2 receptions a year ago, and then prior to getting hurt this year, he had 1 reception. So when he's in the game, generally it's because he's going to get the ball handed to him.
3rd and 8. Looked like early movement by Colombo.
False start. Offense, number 75. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Boy, these mental errors for the Cowboys, really on both sides of the football. They find themselves hurting themselves so frequently.
I'll tell you what, this offensive line is just awfully skittish. And Romo's making a lot of checks, a lot of protection checks at the line of scrimmage. Of course, that time, John Abraham was over Mark Colombo, and you'll get a little skittish when that's the case. Here's John Abraham.
3rd and 13. Batted away by Brent Grimes. It looked like Williams had a handle on it, but a good play by Grimes.
And this has been the problem with this connection between Tony Romo and Roy Williams. You see soft coverage, you got a curl route, a ball right there thrown. That should be, by any standards, an easy completion, but yet they just have failed to execute, the 2 of those have failed to execute some of the simplest route combinations that you would typically see.
Nick Folk on for a 38-yard field goal try. And right down the middle, so the Cowboys on the board. 11:03 to play until halftime. 7-3, Falcons in front.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by State Farm. To us, nothing's more important than being there. By Toyota, moving forward. And by FedEx, we understand your business could use a Dick Butkus pep talk.
Seven plays, 41 yards, capped off by a Nick Folk field goal and a 4-point game. Atlanta coming in at 4-1 on the year. Their only loss this season on the road at New England. And Dallas trying to beat a legitimate playoff contender. Their two losses have come to the Giants and the Broncos. One loss between the two. Another hard hit on a kickoff return. Watkins. On the opening drive of the game, the Falcons went 80 yards on 16 plays. You see what they've done offensively since. -5 yards and a couple of sacks on Matt Ryan, who throws on first down, incomplete.
Hey, Tom, I think you got to go back to the job that Atlanta did defensively once Dallas was able to get into the red zone. And they've been absolutely dominant, especially here over the last 3 games, and counting this one, the last 3.5 games. Teams that have gone into the red zone 12 times and only scored 3 touchdowns. And we talked about it coming in that Atlanta got a touchdown on their drive. Dallas didn't. That would raise a little bit of a red flag if I'm the Dallas Cowboys.
Roddy White on the other side of the field dodges one tackler and appears to have a first down. He broke away from Terrence Newman. And depending on the spot of the ball, it is a first down for Roddy White.
This is a good young group of skill players. I mean, when you talk about Matt Ryan, and a lot of people do in his second season, but then the players that he has around him, and Tony Gonzalez, I think, has made all of them a little bit better. But Roddy White just in his 5th year, Michael Jenkins in his 6th season, and then of course Michael Turner. This is a team that could be together for a while.
There's Turner, and he is caught from behind. Nice tackle made by Junior Seave.
And I think that's kind of the difference right now with Atlanta running the football is Michael Turner. You know, a year ago, I don't know that you have a defensive lineman catch him from behind right there. And you know, Michael Turner, a guy who's regarded as a real power runner, I don't know that that's really what he is. I mean, he's a guy who prefers to bounce it outside. You give him a crease, he can certainly go 40 yards on you, but we haven't seen that explosiveness that we did last season.
He'll take the pitch. Has a first down and more out to the 47-yard line. And let's send it back to Los Angeles for a game break to Kurt Benefield.
With all the injuries at tight end the Bengals have had, they turn to J.P. Fosse for the score. Fosse, taken out from Carson Palmer, was cut by the Raiders in preseason, and he was out of the league 2 years ago. He scores his first NFL touchdown. He's 21-0 since he over the Bears. Tom?
Carson Palmer off to a big start. And of course, Cedric Benson, the former #1 pick of the Bears, now playing for the Bengals and the NFL's 3rd leading rusher so far this year. What a hit delivered by Sensabaugh on Baron Haynes. Boy, what a difference Sensabaugh makes in that Dallas secondary.
Well, this is a secondary that struggled a year ago. They bring in Gerald Sensabaugh to help kind of solidify that safety position, and then he's been injured the last couple of games as well with a broken thumb. You see the cast there on his right hand. And he's a guy who, when he was in Jacksonville, I mean, he's a talented safety. He's a cover safety. He would play the slot receiver in their nickel package. So that tells you the type of coverage skills that he has.
2nd and 10. Ryan under pressure, and it's intercepted. That's Mike Jenkins at midfield.
You're going to see an inside pass rush from DeMarcus Ware, and he doesn't show that very often. But I think when he did, he flushed Matt Ryan then out to his left, and he just didn't get a good look at coverage.
We'll see if the Cowboys can capitalize on a rare Falcon turnover.
Today's game is sponsored by Sprint. This is the NFL Now, only from Sprint, the Now Network, official wireless service sponsor of the NFL.
Second interception this season by Mike Jenkins. It's only the third all year for the Dallas Cowboys, fewest in the National Football League. First down. They give it to Felix Jones. Boy, he was one tackle away from going the distance. Chris Houston able to trip him up.
Well, you're going to see DeMarcus Ware. He starts up the field and then he puts the inside rush, and that flushes Matt Ryan out to his left. And I don't know that he sees Mike Jenkins, who actually knocks Mike Jenkins on the ground for the Falcons, and then he's on the outside of that throw. But I don't know that Matt Ryan really got a good look once he got flushed.
First down, they'll give it to Felix Jones again. And the ball is loose. And the Falcons say they have it. And it is Atlanta football. The critical fumble there by Felix Jones.
Well, let's take a look and see when the ball came out. And yeah, the ball is coming out before his knee goes to the ground. And I think that's the thing you worry about most for a guy who's coming off of injury. Has not played, has not had much contact, isn't accustomed to having the ball tried to be stripped from him. And as you see, they come right in. Thomas Johnson is the defender who went right after the ball and was able to strip it from Felix Jones. And you know, we saw the interception from Matt Ryan. That's uncharacteristic of the Falcons, but what this defense has been is very opportunistic in creating takeaways themselves.
Encroachment, defense, number 90, 5-yard penalty, first down.
And you know, you don't want to beat up on the Cowboys offensive line with all their penalties. In the Kansas City game, the defense of Dallas was called for encroachment 5 times in one half, 4 times in 7 plays by 4 different defensive players. They take 1st and 5 all day long. Snelling still on his feet, very close to a first down.
They're starting to create some running lanes right now, this offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons. Tyson Clabo, the right tackle, does a good job of sealing off the edge. You're going to see he's going against DeMarcus Ware, and then inside Harvey Dahl, the right guard. That's a pretty good lane. And old Michael Turner hasn't seen a lot of those here over the early part of this season.
Maybe back to the line of scrimmage.
This game is taking on a tone, Tom, that I didn't anticipate coming into this game. I think looking at it and the two offenses and defenses that, you know, had some injury, had some concerns, and how they would be able to match up against each of these offenses, but yet it's been a defensive battle, you know, here in this first half.
I mean, really, it's been one drive. That was the very first drive of the game when Atlanta started from its own 20, went 80 yards, chewing up 8.5 minutes with a 7-0 lead. No flag, and Roddy White looking for a flag. He got tangled up with Mike Jenkins.
Yeah, I think that old Michael Jenkins got away with one here because Roddy White was coming in, and you know, both guys are entitled to the ball, but you can't go through a receiver in order to get there, and they didn't get the penalty.
So now a 3rd and 10. Matt Ryan started the game 6 out of 8 on that opening drive. He's won for his last 7, including the interception. Blitz coming. Ryan steps up. and delivers a strike to Tony Gonzalez, a first down to the 31-yard line.
Hey, they've gone to Tony Gonzalez quite a bit here in this first half, and they've got Orlando Scandrick, a corner, who was matched up on him man-to-man. Tony Gonzalez, in his 13th season, he's able to run the out route and run away and create a nice throw there for Matt Ryan, just laying it out towards the sideline. So you always wonder when you pick up a big name free agent like they did with Tony Gonzalez as to how he's going to be able to come in. And oftentimes those deals don't work out, but boy, has this one worked out for the Falcons.
They'll throw it on first down, and Ryan is dropped, and the football comes loose. The Cowboys say they have it, and they are correct.
Well, DeMarcus Ware comes off the edge, and then it forces Matt Ryan to have to try to step up in the pocket. You're going to see here in the push inside, there was just nowhere then for Matt Ryan to step up into. The linebackers came late, but Bowen is able to get in there and make a play.
And then Anthony Spencer able to cover it up. So back-to-back turnovers. The interception by Ryan, the fumble by Jones, now a fumble by Ryan. And with under 6 minutes to go until halftime, the Cowboys with a football from their own 41. And Romo drops on first down. Great protection and looking for the home run ball. It is caught by Miles Austin, the home run ball.
Falcons bring pressure, they block it up, and then you've got Miles Austin in the slot, who just runs a deep crossing post route and runs away from Deku. A good call there by offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, anticipating blitz off of Romo's backside, keeps protection in, blocks it up one-on-one outside, touchdown.
First lead of the day for the Cowboys. Full for the point after, and it's good. So Austin, in his first career start against Kansas City, went for 250 receiving yards. Hits a big one here in the second quarter. Romo and the Cowboys in front, 10-7. We talked about the monster game from Miles Austin. In fact, the 250 yards, the most receiving yards ever by a player in his first career start, including the game winner at Kansas City in overtime 2 weeks ago. And that touchdown gives Dallas the lead. Weems from the 3. Flags come down on the play as he brings it out to the 28-yard line.
During return, holding, return team number 27, 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's Jamal Fudge. They just signed him this week after the injury to corner Brian Williams.
Well, here's that defensive play by DeMarcus Ware. He doesn't get credited for the sack, but he was the guy who forced the pressure. And then you're going to see on the touchdown the job that they do on the backside of this, giving Romo a nice pocket, picking up the pass rush, and as I said, one-on-one then Miles Austin on the safety, Thomas Deku.
And that's Jamal Fudge, who got flagged on the return. Delay to Turner. Out across the 20, out to the 22-yard line, thrown all the way back down to the 15. Tell you got to hand it to this Dallas defense after that first drive where Matt Ryan and the Falcons made it look easy. They have done nothing ever since. In fact, the best thing that's happened to them is punting twice.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the season defensively for the Cowboys, outside of the first 2 weeks of the season against Tampa Bay and then against the New York Giants, they've been pretty good. The problems that they have had been late in games and being able to stop people.
Ryan rolling out, guns it in and out of the hands of Michael Jenkins. Third down upcoming, and we check in once again with Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Drew Brees, 2 interceptions first 5 games, 2 interceptions in 2 quarters today. The last one set up this Ronnie Brown touchdown off the Wildcat, and it's 24-3, Dolphins throttling the Saints. Tom, Troy, and Pam.
Well, Minnesota falling from the ranks of the unbeaten already today at Pittsburgh. A rout taking place so far anyway in Miami against unbeaten New Orleans. 3rd and 6. Crossing pattern. Weems denied first down yardage. 3 and out again for the Dallas defense.
Well, what Atlanta tries to do now to slow down the pass rush of DeMarcus Ware is they go with a trip set here and make DeMarcus Ware widen out. Make it a longer distance for him to be able to then get to the quarterback. They've got time to throw the football. Problem was good coverage by the Dallas Cowboys.
And now Romo and the Cowboys will get it back with plenty of time to try and get down the field for another score before the half. Kanan puts a foot on it. Creighton from the 35. And he is stopped immediately by Croy Bierman. Of course, next week we'll be at Lambeau for the Vikings and the Packers. Anticipated games of this 2009 regular season. Can't wait for that. Always great to be in Green Bay. Romo, a short drop on first down, finds Witten. Not much of a game. We'll call it 3.
You don't think Favre's looking forward to that game, do you?
That is going to be a lot of fun. Green Bay all of a sudden starting to play pretty good football.
Yes, they are. And they're able to pick up a game there on the Minnesota Vikings. And so there's obviously a lot of emotion going into that ball game, as you can well imagine, but it's also 2 good football teams.
They called a gain of 4 on 2nd down and 6. That'll be a loss of a couple of yards, only give to Marion Barber.
Coming into this ball game, you look at Atlanta defensively along that defensive front and how they would hold up against the size of Dallas's big offensive line, and they've held up well. They've been able to get pressure into the backfield, and for the most part, the Cowboys have not just run the ball over them. I think like maybe they were anticipating coming into this game with the 3 healthy backs.
Only 27 rushing yards for the Cowboys in this opening half. They just get it off. Romo pump fake. Wide open down the middle of the field and making a catch to Shard Choice. And that is a first down to the 38-yard line.
Well, Atlanta comes with a 4-man rush, and they give him some time. You're going to see Tashard Choice. He's just running up the seam. And the guy then who has to be able to get underneath that is the linebacker, Mike Peterson. But they run another receiver shallow, and he's got to make a decision. Once he leveled off, it allowed Tashard Choice to get in behind him for the first down. Tashard Choice was a heck of a pickup for this Cowboys team. A 4th-round pick out of Georgia Tech, and shouldered much of the load with the injuries to Barber and Felix Jones. But he can do it all.
And he brings some passion to this Cowboy team as well. 2-minute warning, 10-7 Dallas. Look at the leaders offensively for the Cowboys. It should be noted Romo in the first quarter was 0 for 2. Since then, he's hit on 7 of 8 for 132 yards, and the Cowboys are in the Wildcat formation. That's Tashard Choice who is taking the snap. And they had Felix Jones in motion.
False start. Offense, number 63. 5-yard penalty. First down.
And I'll tell you, Tom, Tony Romo did something there that was actually pretty smart. I don't know exactly what they had diagrammed, but it looked like Tony Romo was going to come back into the backfield off of that action. And once the flag went in the air, he saw it, and then he immediately reversed his course and ran up the field, not to give away whatever it was that they were planning on doing. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they come back to that in the second half.
Play fake to Barber. To the near side, caught by Williams. And that's at the 35-yard line. The Cowboys have all 3 timeouts left. There is a flag down. And again, it's against the Cowboys.
Interference, offense, number 11. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, again, you've got the curl route, and it's again Brent Grimes here, and does he extend? And there's not much there. And here's the previous play with Tony Romo lined up wide. It looked like here he comes, and then he saw the flag, and he immediately turns and heads up the sideline. Pretty smart on his part. Whether or not they'll get back to it in this ball game or in a future game, but at least he didn't give away maybe what they had in mind.
Reception made at the 42-yard line by Martellus Bennett, the backup tight end out of Texas A&M, a second-round pick last year. Clock continues to run. Again, Dallas with all 3 timeouts remaining.
Right now, Dallas doing a good job on John Abraham and keeping him from really being much of a factor. They knock him to the ground at the end. He's getting triple covered. That's when you know you've arrived in the NFL, when they put 3 guys on you.
Well, Dallas burning a lot of time after that completion a moment ago, not using a timeout. They huddled up, and now Romo across the middle. It's incomplete. He had an eye on Witten, and he took a hit from Jamal Anderson. Did Tony Romo.
Well, what this play is Witten just what they call F post. And it looked like they had the middle of the field, looked like they had a good call against the coverage, but yet Witten just was not able to get across the face of Thomas Deku, and he plays that exceptionally well. Thomas Deku has been a good player for this Falcons defense this year, coming off his best game of his young career last week against Chicago with 2 interceptions.
Yep, and named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week for that effort. 1:05 to play until halftime. Romo throws, catches made, and that's good enough for a first down to the 27. And again, it's Martellus Bennett. You were talking about him before the game. Had a real nice rookie year. Has been pretty quiet so far this season. Quiet today until the last 2 completions and a timeout on the field.
Well, 2 catches for him is more than he's had in any one game this season, and a guy with high expectations. And you're right. I mean, they're getting him involved here today. And they expected more from him in the early going of this season.
Well, coming up, the Visa halftime report. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will have the scores and highlights from around the league. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, Romo and company with 52 ticks left. That's the first time out Dallas has spent here in the first half. So 2 to go, and the ball's at the 27-yard line.
Well, and Tom, when we were talking with head coach Mike Smith yesterday, he talked about the importance that he places on defensive stops before the end of a half, or certainly at the end of a ball game. But the statistics, and I don't know exactly what they are, but they're pretty overwhelming. When a team is able to score before the half, that team generally goes on and wins games, and that's not lost on Mike Smith.
That's what happened the game you had in Atlanta against New England. Blitz coming. Romo gets it away to Barber, and a nice open field tackle keeping Barber in bounds, made by Chris Houston.
Yes, it was, because Marion Barber in that situation is not an easy tackle. He probably breaks more tackles than any running back in football.
Down to 30 seconds remaining until halftime. Romo. Caught by Austin. First and goal of the 9. And the Cowboys use their second time out of the half.
I tell you, Miles Austin just has a knack for knowing where the holes are in these zones, and you see him get there. A well-thrown ball by Tony Romo, having to lay that perfectly over the outstretched hands there of Chevis Jackson. But Miles Austin, you can tell the rapport that he has with Tony Romo. And you know, as you mentioned earlier, Tom, we saw it 2 weeks ago against Kansas City, the day that he had. And a little bit like Martellus Bennett, you know, he was one of those guys that was expected to come in and really help make up for some of the lost production when they lost Terrell Owens. And now with him getting more opportunities, he's starting to really show up for this team.
Romo has had a fabulous second quarter. Yes, he did have a fumble, but he has been brilliant. Started the game in the first quarter 0 for 2. Ninth play of the drive. 22 seconds left. Great protection. Across the middle. Jones the reception at the 6-yard line. 15 seconds left, and Dallas will spend its final timeout of this half. And you know, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, the way you start the game, you go 80 yards, 16 plays, jump out to a 7-0 lead. But ever since then, this game has been dominated on both sides of the ball by the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, both defenses have really done a pretty good job and played very hard. And now Dallas is starting to get a drive going. Of course, if you're looking at this from Atlanta's perspective right now, down 3 points, as I mentioned, coming in at halftime, you know, it's overwhelming, the statistics, when you look at who goes on to then win a game. But if they're able to keep this a 1-possession game and a 6-point difference, I mean, that's certainly what they're angling for at this point.
Well, you're out of timeouts and you're under 15 seconds left to play. In this situation, you know, you're probably not going to get off 2 more plays, perhaps enough time to spike the ball if you do make a completion. But a lot of choices here now for Tony Romo. Romo still on his feet. Touchdown! Wow, what a play by Romo. Romo, like bumper cars in the backfield, somehow got away and finds Creighton for 6.
Jonathan Babineau was the first one to get there, and he just doesn't wrap him up. He just bounces right off of him, as you said. And you know, once he escapes the pressure, he is looking to find an open man, and you just can't expect the secondary at that point to be able to cover for that long.
17 unanswered points for the Cowboys. They score in the final seconds of the half to go up by 10.
I mean, really a good job with the twist up front defensively, and they get what they wanted. You know, Mike Smith, you know, showing his frustration and anger on the sidelines. When you come up with a plan to get pressure on the quarterback in that situation and you get a guy loose and you're not then able to make the sack. And here's Patrick Creighton, who had a chip on his shoulder this week after being named the 3rd receiver, losing his starting job to Miles Austin. But look how he continues to keep playing. And at that point, it's just staying alive, knowing that Tony Romo would find him.
The 11-year Atlanta Falcon, in fact, a lifelong Georgian, Keith Brooking. Born in Georgia, went to college at Georgia Tech. Spent 11 years, 5 of those as a Pro Bowler for the Falcons. They decided not to bring him back. He signed with Dallas. Is very happy to be here. And encircled this game on his calendar when the schedule came out. 1 second, and then that will tick off, ending the opening half. So outside of an opening drive by the Atlanta Falcons to go up 7-0, the Dallas Cowboys regroup in a hurry, both on offense and on defense, and have a 17-7 halftime lead.
And I think you look at the way that this first half has gone. Initially, with the Falcons gaining the 7-0 advantage, they were able to stick with what they wanted to do. Still, obviously they don't have to get completely away from their game plan, but this is an uncomfortable area for the Falcons. This is not where they want to be with trying to mix in the running game and still use their play action game.
Cowboys came into this game feeling it was a very important game in their season. The difference between 3-3 and 4-2. They lead, and Fox NFL Sunday continues after a word from your local Fox station. Set to begin the second half in Dallas with the Cowboys leading the Atlanta Falcons 17-7. The look at the first half numbers presented by DirecTV. And certainly turnovers a part of that opening half. You see the 2 takeaways for the Cowboys, cashing in on 7 points. And 3 sacks of Matt Ryan, who came into the game having not been sacked in 17 quarters of play. Felix Jones will take a knee, and let's check in downstairs with Pam Oliver.
There were a whole bunch of smiling Cowboys, Tom, as they went into the locker room. Tony Romo, Wade Phillips had the biggest grins. I asked Wade what's going on with the defensive line, getting all that pressure. He said he challenged them to act like last year's defense when they led the league in sacks. I asked Mike Smith what's happening. He says we've just got to block better. They're not showing anything we haven't seen before. Hated that touchdown before the half, but he also said that's just football. Back to you.
Pam, thanks so much. So Romo had the dazzling second quarter. Gets the ball to begin the second half with a 10-point lead. And he comes out throwing. They pick up the blitz. And it's complete out to the 27-yard line to Martellus Bennett, his 3rd catch, all within the last 3 minutes of play.
Yeah, Atlanta comes right out, and they try to get pressure on Tony Romo with a secondary blitz, and Chevis Jackson and Marion Barber's able to pick that up. And Atlanta there in that first half doing a lot of things that they just have not done in the early part of this year. I mean, they've done a good job protecting Matt Ryan. They've done a good job of protecting the football, and they didn't do either of those things well in the first 30 minutes.
Well, it looks like a player injured on the field as timeout is called, with Dallas leading 17-7. And you got to wonder if Atlanta now is able to make some of the changes as far as making an adjustment offensively to counter all that pressure that the Cowboy defense able to put on Matt Ryan.
Well, I think that this drive right here is very important for the Atlanta Falcons. And when we talked about it going in at half, they gave up the touchdown. Now Dallas gets the ball right back to start this second half, and it's going to be important as far as really setting the tempo now for the second half and being able to get something back themselves to make a stop here on this possession defensively.
Talked about the Cowboys feeling how important this game was. I mean, Troy, if we heard it once, we heard it 5, 6, 7 times in our meeting with the Cowboy players and coaches a couple of days ago, and trying to get off to this 4-2 start rather than 3-3.
Well, I think that you look at it, and they've had a bye week, and so they've been able to correct a lot of things and really try to see where they are as a team and what they needed to do to recapture some of the confidence that has been somewhat shaken through this year.
Timeout, by the way, charged to the Falcons. That's why we had a stoppage of play. And that's a carry by Marion Barber, good enough for a first down.
I know Dallas came into this game feeling that with 3 healthy running backs, they would be able to run the football. That really did not happen in the first half. They moved the ball because of the job that the offensive line did in protecting Tony Romo, and that he's having a hot day. There's a perception around the league that Tony Romo is having a bad year, and that's not the case at all. You look at 2 of the games this year are 2 of his career best in terms of yardage.
First down throw, Romo right on the money, and the catch is made by Miles Austin out to the 45-yard line. Another first down.
Good job on the outside one-on-one, and Romo playing with a lot of confidence right now. I think to go back to what I was saying is that, you know, this is a football team. Hasn't always been the case. It is the case around the league, but when Tony Romo doesn't play well, this team doesn't win. It's that simple. So he's not afforded the luxury of winning games by relying on his defense or his running game.
Marion Barber nowhere to go on first down. Maybe got back to the line of scrimmage, tripped up by Lofton, and had some help from Eric Coleman.
And when Tony Romo has played well, this team has won. And when he's played bad, well, they've lost. And he's played well 3 times this year, and they're 3-2.
And really, you cannot argue with 44 games started as a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. And I know there are those that will say, well, he hadn't won in the playoffs yet, and that is true. But as a starting quarterback, he is 30-14, which is the 4th best record for 44 starts among all Super Bowl era quarterbacks. And that's trailing only Kurt Warner, Ben Roethlisberger, and Tom Brady. Incomplete, and penalty flag on the play. Flag is in the backfield.
Illegal shift, offense, 2 men moving. Penalty is declined, 3rd down.
It'll be 3rd and 10 rather than 2nd and 15.
You know, Tom, I think to follow up on your point, I think somewhere along the lines for a team that has not won in postseason in quite some time, the expectations got awfully high. And the reason they got high is because they had Tony Romo playing quarterback, and now he, in a lot of ways, is victimized by those expectations that he helped create. And yet he'll be the first to say that, you know, there are times when he needs to play better if this team's going to achieve, you know, what they certainly feel they're capable of.
3rd and 10, and he is sacked back at the 37-yard line. On the blitz, it was Thomas Deku.
Yeah, you're going to see a whole sellout here. I mean, here they come. They're coming off the edges, and they're just selling out with everybody and just trying to get some pressure here on Tony Romo. No safety in the middle of the field, one-on-one across the board. And that ball's just got to come out. You don't have enough blockers to give him time.
So as you mentioned, a very important opening series for the Atlanta defense, and the Falcons come up with a stop. Weems at the 14, dropped right there. Great coverage by Patrick Watkins. Matt Ryan and company get it for the first time in the 2nd half.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Go to southwest.com, grab your bag, it's on. By Miller Lite, there's light beer, and then there's triple hops brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness. By AT&T, your world delivered. And by Autotrader.com, you'll find the car you want at the price you want at Autotrader.com.
(17-7), just underway in the 2nd half from Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Matt Ryan, after a great opening drive, has been roughed up by this Cowboy defense. He'll hand it off to Turner, who's had a quiet game yet again today. They brought up the Atlanta rushing attack a season ago. Number 1 in the NFL, 151 yards rushing per game. This year, they're averaging 71 yards per game. That is a huge swing.
Well, offensively this year, I mean, if you look at their first 5 games, 3 times they've been held under 300 yards of total offense. They're on pace for under 300 yards again today, but yet they're capable of being explosive. We saw that in their game against the 49ers.
A strike to Michael Jenkins, and depending on where they spot the football, he may have a first down. He needed to get to the 24. And it is a first down.
I was going to say, in order to give Matt Ryan and this offense a chance, though, they've got to give him more protection than they did in the first half. And this was a pretty good start. Clabo there one-on-one with DeMarcus Ware, not what they would prefer to do. but they're able to get away with it on that play with good protection.
Up in the line of scrimmage by Jay Ratliff, who came down the line to make the stop. Ratliff, a very underrated player.
Well, he made it to his first Pro Bowl last year, and you're right. I mean, as far as a guy who was a 7th-round pick, you don't anticipate him coming in and being able to do the things that he does. And, you know, he's somewhat of an undersized nose tackle for 3-4 nose tackles. I mean, typically those guys are 350 pounds. Jay Ratliff weighs in at about 300, but he's got a heck of a motor, and he goes hard every single snap.
Draw to Turner, and he's out across the 31-yard line, bringing up a more than manageable 3rd and 3.
They're able to use some of that aggressiveness against that Cowboys defensive front, get them upfield, and then run the draw. And you're right. I mean, they started this game out, Atlanta did, very good on 3rd down. And most of that was there on their first possession. But since that time, they've struggled here.
Spotted at the 32, 3rd and 2. Good protection. Incomplete. Flag down on the far side of the field. Looks like this is going against Dallas.
Offside. Defense.
Wow.
Number 72. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Now, if you're a Cowboy fan, it's a legitimate question to say, how does this continue to happen? I mean, we mentioned last week it happened 5 times in one half, lining up offsides by a Dallas defender.
Well, and they're doing it in silent count, so the Falcons offensive line is watching the ball, and yet they're still able to get Dallas offside.
The Cowboys here playing a late afternoon game, and Troy, you were talking about being an event before the season ever started, and the sun fading into the western sky and then shooting onto the playing field, and that could be a factor before this game is over today.
Well, it could be, and you can see the sun coming through the end zone there. It'll be better for the Falcons in this direction because the quarterback is the one who really has to deal with it. When the receiver turns to catch the ball, the sun will then no longer be in his eyes. This is really more of an issue with Matt Ryan.
Snelling across midfield, all the way down to the Dallas 35-yard line. They very much like Jason Snelling. He's played fullback, he's played tailback, and he's going to take on an important role as long as Jarius Norwood is out injured.
Yeah, he's a versatile guy. You can't have enough guys like this on your ball club, and a nice run, but a nice job by the offensive line in creating a hole for him. And you know, as you said, they'll use him as a wide receiver. They used him as a lead blocker last week. They have at times here today. And then, as we've seen, he's a pretty good ball carrier when he gets it in his hands also.
From the 31, they fake it to Snelling. Ryan all day to throw, now rolling out left. That's a dangerous throw right there. Fine. Looking for Tony Gonzalez. He was well defended by Sensabaugh.
Yeah, you say, wow, he really got great protection there, and the reason is they've got an 8-man protection all across the board. Only 2 guys going out on the route. The problem is that Dallas has got them all covered. And as a quarterback, I know there's always the constant discussion as to, okay, do we max protect, send 2 guys out, or do we let you navigate a free rusher? And I, along with most quarterbacks, would much rather get more receivers out into the routes so that you don't get caught with the ball like Matt Ryan just did.
Snelling again with a nice run. And also a nice tackle again made in the open field by Jenkins. He's had a couple of those today.
You know, what Mike Mularkey was anticipating on that previous play when they did block him up, he was anticipating an all-out blitz and one-on-one. And we saw Dallas do the same thing in the first half. They got the one-on-one, and that's when Miles Austin was able to score the touchdown. But that time, Mike Mularkey guessed wrong.
3rd and 5. like Gonzalez was the intended receiver, but sneaking in 5 yards behind him and making the catch is Roddy White. And that's a first down at the 15-yard line.
I don't think that's how that play was drawn up, because you're right. You never put 2 receivers. It looked to me like Gonzalez might have got a little deep on his route. And what looked like a high throw was a perfect throw then to Roddy White. And he got his feet down. Now the Cowboys brought a blitz off the front side. And the Falcons did a great job that time anticipating blitz and picking it up.
Snelling becoming a big factor in this game, and especially on his drive. Hard to bring down.
And I think you got to go back, Tom, to the offsides penalty that kept this drive alive. And you know, those penalties, and they're accumulating for this Dallas Cowboy team, as they have in other games. And eventually they're going to come back and bite you. It didn't happen in the first half, but it already has on this drive, because if nothing else, Atlanta's going to be given an opportunity for a field goal.
Snelling out, Turner in, they give it to Michael inside the 5. And down to the 2-yard line. It's 1st and goal for the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, Harvey Dahl, their right guard, he's a heck of a player, and here he is, and he stands up Marcus Spears. And you see the lane then that Michael Turner has to come off of. They tried getting Claybo there onto the linebacker, and if he's able to make that block, then it's a walk-in.
They talk about Dahl being one of the nastiest players in the league. Turner behind his right guard and into the end zone. Touchdown Falcons. And a point after away from making this a 3-point game.
Now that's exactly what the Atlanta Falcons needed. You know, after being able to make a stop when Dallas had the ball to open up the second half, and then to take this drive down the field and regain a little bit of the momentum that they had lost.
Point after is good. 5:26 to play in the 3rd quarter. Game on in Cowboys Stadium, 17-14. Dallas 17, Atlanta 14. The Falcons marching 87 yards on their first possession of the second half, much like they did their opening possession of the game. And Felix Jones again will take a knee. Well, all of a sudden this becomes an important offensive series for Romo and the Cowboys, in front by 3.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevy. Put us up against anyone, and may the best car win.
Back in Arlington, Texas at Cowboys Stadium. It's been a big day for Tony Romo after a slow start. Not much of a running game for the Cowboys today, despite the fact that they have all 3 running backs healthy for the first time in nearly a month. And Romo going to put it up on 1st down. Looking for Austin. Flag down. Austin caught it. Again, there's a penalty flag right where Austin was being defended by Chris Houston. And it's against Atlanta.
I tell you, that was a heck of a throw.
Contact. Defense number 23. Penalty is declined. 1st down.
You couldn't throw this ball any better than what Tony Romo just did. You're going to see there, it's you know, other than the contact right there, I mean, it's great coverage underneath and just a perfectly thrown ball. So it really didn't matter with the penalty on the play. They get the completion, and Miles Austin gets his feet in bounds. And again, it was one of those situations where Atlanta had the perfect coverage call, and the execution of the Dallas offense just was better.
Romo on 1st down. It looked like Roy Williams either tripped or shut it down. An incomplete pass. Let's send it back to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee. No, we'll hold off on that.
Well, the Saints scored with 5 seconds left in the first half, and then to start the second half, Ted Ginn's pass reception bobbled around into the hands of Darren Sharper. 42 yards later, the Saints are within a touchdown, 24-17. Here's that guy Sharper again, Tom Detroit.
Well, they were taking a look at the right calf of Thomas Johnson.
You go back and take a look at this route by Roy Williams. Initially, I thought maybe he hurt himself the way that he reacted, but he just kind of got fooled on the pass and thought the ball was going to be lobbed where he'd have to jump up and get it. Even he found that to be a little funny.
So 2nd and 10 at midfield. Felix Jones still on his feet and appears to have a first down to the Atlanta 38-yard line. Well, he gets behind those big bodies up front and you can't find him.
Tell you what, every time he gets the ball, you kind of hold your breath and you just wait to see him come out the other end. He got right behind Kyle Kozier, who was pulling out in front, and you know, I mean, he showed you some of the power that he has even in traffic. And you know, if they can keep him healthy, you know, this guy is as explosive as they come. He's doing at the NFL level what he did there in Arkansas, and it's rare to see any athlete do that.
They pitch it to him. Turns a corner. And is shoved out of bounds at the 27-yard line. Got a good block from his tight end, Jason Witten.
Yeah, he sure did. And it got Felix Jones then, you know, around the corner. You see there in space, and you know, Jason Witten, everyone knows what kind of receiver he is and the type of player he is, but I think he's an underrated blocker. He's as effective a blocker as there is, I think, at the tight end position. I know, in fact, even Tony Gonzalez said this week that he thought Jason Witten was the best tight end in football, and I would agree.
Jones again, and this time nowhere to run. Well, you talk about the explosiveness of Jones. Coming into the game, he only had 21 carries because of the injury to his knee. 6 of the 15. 6 of 15 went for 24 to 40 yards. I mean, he can bust it now when he gets into the open field.
Well, I mean, last year, even though it was limited, he averaged just under 9 yards a rush. And then this year, he's averaged 10 yards a rush. So he's had enough carries. I mean, he's not going to continue that throughout his career, but you know, that tells you that he's capable of going the distance every time he has it in his hands.
2nd and 9. Romo wide open field in front of him. Slides down at the 11, and that's a Dallas first down.
Looks like they may have a hold against the Cowboys. It's down the field where it would have been a receiver holding a defensive back.
Holding, offense, number 80, 10-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there, Mr. Aikman. That's Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, and Atlanta was locked up man-to-man, and you can do that when you're going against a quarterback that you don't feel is much of a runner, and certainly Tony Romo is not that. But yet a couple of times now, when we've seen them go man-to-man, Romo's had some good scrambles. You see right here, the hold. Deku trying to come off of that block to get in there and make a tackle, and Martellus Bennett just swung him to the ground. right in front of the official. You don't usually get away with those.
2nd down for Dallas, and Romo finds Austin. He breaks the tackle. The flag is down. He tiptoes into the end zone. He beat Brent Grimes, and more than likely that flag is against Grimes. Although we'll have to wait and see.
Holding, defense, number 20. Penalty is declined. Touchdown.
You know, we saw this in the Denver game, and it was intercepted because he and Tony Romo weren't on the same page. This time they are, and a perfectly thrown pass. You see the contact at the top of this route, and yet they're still not able to make a play. Miles Austin is an explosive player, but he's also a physical player, and teams have had a hard time tackling him after the catch. We saw it 2 weeks ago in Kansas City.
Point after good by Nick Folk. Well, Austin goes 6 feet 3 inches tall, 214 pounds. And he's making plays, catching balls for Romo and the Cowboys. The lead swells to 10. Seven plays didn't take long.
Now, for those that wondered whether or not Miles Austin was a one-game wonder, I think he's answered that today.
A pair of touchdown receptions coming off the 250 receiving yards in the win over Kansas City. 144 receiving yards for him today. Well, a big night still ahead on Fox Sports in a battle of two American League powerhouses. It's down to the wire. The Angels' exciting comeback win in Game 5 cut the Yankee lead to 3-2. They're back to the Bronx. Game 6. Our coverage begins at Fox Sports at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, following the OT. In high definition only on Fox. Joe Buck, Tim McCarver, and Ken Rosenthal standing by. Michael Turner on first down with the Falcons down by 10. You know, our cameras are able to pick up Mike Smith complaining about the sunshine coming through the end zone from the west side. Now, we understand he was told there would be a curtain that would drop, and they have a curtain that can drop to block that sun coming in. And you only wonder, he's already spent a timeout to complain about it and did his decision on the opening coin toss to receive rather than defer and then choose which end of the field you want to go to late in the game, weren't affected by that. Turner on 2nd and 7 picks up a yard. Brooking there to stop it.
Well, you said it, Tom. I mean, they do have a curtain that they can drop that would then block the sun. They've got to make that decision coming out at the half. They can't drop it now. And the shadows aren't too bad actually on the field right now, but the previous possession for Atlanta, the sun was definitely a factor. It initially was out to start this possession, and it's only been out when the Falcons have had the ball. Right.
Nearly intercepted on a throw down the middle of the field intended for Gonzalez.
Well, that was Gerald Sensabaugh, the safety, and as we talked about a little bit earlier, you know, he's got the cast on his hand and over his thumb, and you know, he's just trying to bring that one in and cradle it as best he can because he can't use his hands to intercept it. You're not going to get an easier opportunity. A good job there defensively by Dallas after getting the touchdown to go back up 10 and then forcing a 3-and-out.
Cannon on the punt. Creighton and Newman back for the Cowboys. A booming punt by Cannon. Knocking up Newman to the 24, and he's running the wrong way. Finneran chasing, and Snelling runs him down and throws him down at the 12. Great coverage.
Well, that wasn't a very good decision there by Terrence Newman. Initially, they were going to have relatively decent field position, but he just keeps running backwards. As he's running to the sideline trying to get on the edge, he's losing ground. And good pursuit there. Jason Snelling, we talked about him a little bit earlier as far as what he means to this offense, especially with Jarius Norwood down. He's also a heck of a special teams player. Last year, he led the Atlanta Falcons in special teams tackles.
So a 53-yard punt, really make it a 64-yard punt, because that was 11 yards lost on the return by Newman. So on first down, they give it to Marion Barber, and he's out to the 20. Well, some of the rushing numbers around the National Football League. A good day for Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and his main back in Ryan Grant. Adrian Peterson through the air and on the ground, although Minnesota loses for the first time. And boy, Steven Jackson, he's a real good player on a bad team.
Yeah, he's about all they got in St. Louis. So if they're ever going to do anything, it better be because he's having a big day.
Barber spins away from a tackle, and he's out to the 34, and that'll be a first down on the final play of the third quarter. "15 minutes to go in Arlington, Texas, and the Cowboys trying to go to 4-2 with a 10-point lead. Take a look at the NFC East standings. The Giants losing for the first time all season last week in New Orleans. Philadelphia and Washington will collide tomorrow night. So we begin the fourth quarter. Dallas at 3-2 down on the year with a 10-point lead. And again, Romo, not known as the niftiest runner among all NFL quarterbacks, but has done a nice job of evading trouble today.
Boy, he really has. I mean, they've had some guys that have been back there and ready to make a play on him, and yet he's been elusive enough to turn bad plays into positive plays. That doesn't look like much, only a 2-yard gain, but it sure beats the alternative.
Second and 8 picks up a yard, so a very important third down in the opening minute of this fourth quarter. Atlanta down 10 to the Cowboys.
You take a look at Marion Barber, and prior to this possession he had only had 5 carries on the day, and you know, I think that this part of the game is when he's really at his best, particularly if he's not overused early in the game, and that's where he was back in 07 when Julius Jones was the starter. Last year he became the starter and got a bulk of the carries early in games, but then he couldn't close people the way that he had in 07.
On 3rd and 6, blitz coming. Catch is made by Witten and right on the first down marker. Shevis Jackson right there with him, but another beautifully thrown ball by Tony Romo.
Yeah, Witten inside, and you know, he gets the respect. They're going to put a corner on him. He's just so good at setting up routes, and you know, you put him in the middle where he can break inside or outside or go up the seam, and he's very, very difficult regardless of who you put on him. In fact, Mike Smith said we don't have one guy who we're confident in that can cover him, and we're going to try a multiple of people and different things.
First down.
And overall, they've actually done a pretty good job on Jason Witten. I think, you know, when you look at who's hurt them, it's been Miles Austin.
Well, they don't want to hear that name, Miles Austin, in Kansas City or Atlanta.
They sure don't in Kansas City.
And they may be saying his name in vain in a lot of places before this year is over. Barber for 2. What's Miles Austin done so far today? Really, he's been very shaky compared to Kansas City.
Well, I was talking about the play in Denver when they had the interception, and you know, there was a thought then that he and Romo, you know, didn't have this kind of chemistry where they've got a good feel for one another. But looking at Kansas City, looking at what's happened here today, it's pretty apparent that Tony Romo has great confidence in Miles Austin, and that happens when a guy starts making plays for you. Some of the things that they're doing together are what the Cowboys ultimately hope happens between him and Roy Williams.
And there is an attempted connection between that duo, and it's incomplete. 3rd down.
Yeah, and there's something that's just not right there, because again, a slant route, pretty easy throw, time to throw the ball, and yet they just don't deliver on that. I mean, right there, and the ball's low, and I don't know what exactly it is. And Roy Williams has spent a lot of time this offseason getting ready for this year, heavily scrutinized throughout the offseason based on the lack of production a year ago, but they just still haven't been able to make it work.
Today is his 15th game as a Cowboy since a trade. Third down and 8. It always comes back to Miles Austin. And he lost control of the football at the 27-yard line. He had an eye to the corner of the end zone.
Well, Atlanta brings pressure to Tony Romo's front side, and they do a good job of picking it up. You're going to see Tashard Choice. Mike Peterson comes inside, the block there, and then the window that Romo has to throw it in, and I don't know what it is, but when Miles Austin catches the ball, nobody can make a tackle. That time, Chris Houston, who was not in coverage but had a chance there to come off and make that play, he failed to make the tackle.
171 receiving yards for Miles Austin. And Romo sacked back at the 34-yard line by Stephen Nicholas. Dallas fans are wondering what in the world Austin's doing standing on a sideline.
Well, and then so was Ray Sherman, the wide receiver coach, and he told him to get back out there. And if I was in the huddle, if I was Tony Romo, I'd maybe call timeout and tell him to get back out here.
Look around in the huddle and say, hey, where's my man?
Every once in a while they'd take Michael Irvin out to take a breather. I said, you better get in better shape.
The grip as he went to throw that one again to Austin. So third down and 14.
I tell you, I am impressed with what the running backs have done for the Dallas Cowboys in picking up some of these blitzes and linebacker blitzes from the Atlanta Falcons. Even for Felix Jones, guy who missed most of last season, a young player, and that generally is where these young running backs really struggle, is in pass protection. And he's done a good job. And then Tashard Choice, he does everything pretty well.
Nice open field tackle made by Deku after the catch was made by Creighton. So this will be a very, very long field goal try. Going to be about 47, 48 yards.
Yeah, this is interesting because if you make it here, then you make it a 2-touchdown game. But if you miss, boy, you're giving the ball to Atlanta with great field position to get down the field themselves and climb right back into this ball game. This becomes a really big attempt here by Nick Folk.
His season long is 51. He has more than enough leg. The sun right in the eyes of the holder, Matt McBride. Nothing to it. Matt Ryan 11 of 22 for 100 yards, but he's been sacked 3 times in the game. Snelling has carried the ball well, albeit just 7 rushing attempts. And Atlanta, as the ball is loose, a flag is down. Ball was batted away, covered up by Justin Peele after it was stripped away by Ratliff. But again, a flag is down.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, 73, offense.
That'll back him up 15 yards.
Jay Ratliff is the one who got in there and was able to get the ball loose, and that would have been a fumble. So on the other side, they had DeMarcus Ware one-on-one, and he was able to get a little bit of push also.
Decline, second down.
Well, they declined the penalty because after the fumble, it's a loss of 5. Although if you take that penalty, it backs them up 15 and puts them on the 5-yard line, right? Granted, it would be first down, but a little more breathing room. 2nd and 15. 3rd and 15. NFL on Fox. We look ahead to a doubleheader weekend next weekend. Troy, you and I will be on hand the back end of the double dip for the Giants and the Eagles early. You and I will be in Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Brett Favre returns to face the Packers. The Ford Drive 1 Fox NFL Sunday pregame show starts at all noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
Well, I think if the Falcons are going to climb back into this, they're going to have to convert this 3rd down right here.
Ryan throws to Michael Jenkins, and he's about 1.5 yards short of the first down. And the Falcons are going to have to punt. Ryan is trying to tell Mike Smith, we got to go here. And Smith says, nope, we're punting.
Yeah, I think Mike Smith stepped out there and let Matt Ryan know who the head coach was and who was making the decisions. And, you know, this is the right thing. You know, they now are relying on their defense to make a quick stop. If they don't, there's not going to be enough time left. But if you don't pick up the 4th down here, the game's over. It becomes a 3-game score, or a 3-score game.
Into the open field, and he is long gone. He lost his job, but may have earned it back. Not only lost his job at wide receiver to Miles Austin, he lost his job as a punt returner when they signed Allen Rawson.
I think he just got it back. And that was the final nail in the coffin right there. Saw Joe D. Camillus. He's done a heck of a job this year turning around this special teams.
Point after is good. Creighton goes a distance, and the Cowboys in front 34. Wade Phillips coming over to congratulate Patrick Creighton after that 73-yard punt return for a touchdown. Of course, Creighton said at the beginning of the week when he lost his job at wide receiver that nobody on the coaching staff told him. Wade Phillips said somebody told him.
We just saw Wade Phillips go over and talk to him. I think he told him great job this time. You see Terrence Newman right here on the block that he makes. That really is the one that sprung Patrick Creighton all the way down the field for the touchdown. And Joe D. Camillus talking about him first year as special teams coordinator and what a great job he has done, not just here but everywhere he's been. And you know, Keith Brooking, Tom, when we talked to him, he said, hey, I'm not going to lie to you, winning this game would mean more to me than I can even tell you. He's a happy former Falcon.
Hey, you put everything into its proper perspective. And Joe D. Camillus just being able to celebrate over there standing on a sideline as an NFL coach is all secondary to being alive. You may remember at Valley Ranch when they had that tornado-like storm that took down the practice facility, the aluminum structure collapsed. He was inside that structure at the time. Spent 5 hours on an operating table. They put a 13-inch incision 2 titanium rods that went the entire length of his spine. They said literally his spinal cord was hanging by a thread, and is extremely fortunate that he didn't end up in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
And it's been a long recovery for him, and it still is. I mean, there's still a lot of therapy that he's going through weekly in order to regain, you know, some of the movements that he had prior to the injury.
Ryan incomplete. 7:35 to go here in Arlington, Texas.
I'll tell you, Tom, the story of this game, besides the play of Tony Romo and Miles Austin, has been this defensive front for the Dallas Cowboys and the amount of pressure they have gotten on Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the league. For his career, sacked less than 1 time per game, and yet he not only got sacked a number of times in this one, but he got hit a lot.
Marty Booker takes a lick from Mike Jenkins. The ball is loose. Jenkins, who made the hit, picks up the ball and races to the other end for a touchdown.
I'll tell you what, that, in my opinion, should be a penalty on Mike Jenkins. I mean, he went right to the head on Marty Booker, helmet to helmet, launched himself, crown of the helmet, and Marty Booker is hurt.
The challenge flag comes out by Mike Smith. There is no debate whatsoever. That is helmet to helmet.
They have officials right there watching the entire play. I'm shocked that it was missed. But that's the type of hit they're trying to take out of the game.
Atlanta's challenging the ruling on the field that it was a fumble.
Well, as it pertains to the challenge on the field, it looked like Booker was down when the ball came out. Scott Green challenging the call on the play.
Reviewing the play, the receiver had possession of the ball, was down at the 44-yard line. It's Atlanta's ball, 1st and 10. Atlanta is not charged with a timeout.
Well, you'll see here with Marty Booker, and as he goes to the ground, he has possession of the ball. And just to clean that up, we did talk to Mike Pereira, the head of officiating, and once he became a runner, then there is no protection on helmet-to-helmet contact, although I know that that's a hit they're trying to eliminate from the game. I disagree that he was a runner. He was a defenseless player that took the crown of the helmet, and that is not what they want.
Oh, my goodness. This time it's Terrence Newman. And a hit on Ronnie White. I think it's pretty safe to say that at least on this day, Jenkins, Newman, and Sensabaugh coming out hitting.
And that there actually is what they do want. And when you saw Newman come in, it was a vicious hit, but he came in with the shoulder pad and didn't go to the helmet. He went to the body.
Gonzalez with a reception down to the 30-yard line. Clock continues to roll under 6.5 to play.
You know, they're going to this no huddle out of necessity. They tried it early in that first half, didn't have much success. I was a little surprised they didn't get to this much earlier in this ball game when they were still in it.
Again under heavy pressure, and Ryan just throws it away, that time being chased by Anthony Spencer. Well, another growing game, if you will, for Matt Ryan. I mean, not every day are you going to roll out of bed, throw 2-3 touchdown passes, and not get hit. Days like this are going to happen. You remember those days, Mr. Aikman?
Yeah, I had a career's worth in my first season. things aren't going to get a lot easier for this Atlanta team, considering the number of games they have coming up on the road in some tough places.
Catch made by Finnerick. Today begins a 5-game stretch where the Falcons go on the road. In Dallas today, they go to New Orleans next weekend. Then Washington at home and go to Carolina and the Giants.
Tough duty, 4 of 5 on the road, but what that tells you is then down the stretch, they're going to have a number of home games when it's obviously very important to be playing pretty good ball.
False start, offense, number 63. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Well, you know, you look at the schedule through the first 8 weeks of the season, the Falcons have the 3rd toughest schedule in the NFL. On the back end, the final 8 weeks, with a majority of those games at home, they have the 7th easiest schedule in the NFL.
Well, it helped them today with Miami being able to beat New Orleans.
Batted down. Good coverage by Alan Ball. So 4th down and 10. Ryan and the Falcons obviously are going to go for it, down by 20.
My apologies. I thought the score on the Miami-New Orleans game was out of hand. It's actually a very close ball game right now.
It was out of hand early. Wide open down the middle of the field and into the end zone is Weems, his first receiving touchdown this season. That makes it a 34-20 game with a point after upcoming.
Well, they get Weems out of the backfield, a little bit like what we saw from Tashard Choice, you know, in the game there for Dallas, and they get the safety over the top, doubling on the outside wide receivers, and the linebacker just fails to pick Weems up coming out from the backfield. And with them able to score here and tighten this game up to now a 2-score game and still time for Atlanta.
34-21. Ryan finding Weems. He couldn't be more wide open.
Here's the confusion that Dallas was faced with on that last play to Weems for the touchdown. You can see everybody talking to one another. The linebackers there are in disarray, and then you've got Hamlin going over the top to give help on the outside. And with the linebackers blitzing, nobody was in coverage.
Now the onside kick attempt undoubtedly upcoming for the Falcons. And Ball there to bring it in at the 44-yard line. That's Bennett, I beg your pardon. All right, what's upcoming for Romo and the Cowboys after today? Be at home to Seattle in back-to-back road games. Not easy places to go in Philadelphia and Green Bay. And then a couple of games on the home front against teams down right now, the Redskins and Oakland.
Well, that's why this game today against Atlanta was such a big win for them. You know, if they're able to now go to 4-2 and a home game next week against Seattle, and you know, it's a game that they should win. And if they come out of that one then at 5-2, 2 tough road games at Philadelphia and at Green Bay. But this game today was important in setting the rest of it up.
Barber wisely just cuts it back to the inside to keep that clock rolling.
Yeah, and here's really been the story, and Romo having the time to have the day that he's had. These backs did a heck of a job in protection. As you can see, all 3 of them did, whether it was Tashard Choice, Marion Barber, of course there, even Deion Anderson, the fullback, got in the mix. And I've always said, if you give Tony Romo time to throw the football, he's going to find somebody, as most quarterbacks are in the league. But now, with Miles Austin, they have a deep threat. Without him, they really have not had that home run guy.
They bleed that play clock all the way down to 1. Give it to Jones to the 38-yard line.
Jones with a carry.
coming up at the conclusion of this one. The OT presented by Lowe's, and then drive you right up front and center for the first pitch of Game 6 in the American League Championship Series, the Angels and the Yankees.
I'll tell you what, Tom, I think Atlanta offensively, as we take a look there at Matt Ryan, I think that they've really got to find out what's holding them back. And they've done a good job, as we talked about throughout this game, of scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They've protected Matt Ryan. They've not turned the ball over. And all of those things are important to winning games. And that's why they came into this game 4-1. But they haven't moved the ball consistently. This is now the 4th game out of 6. Well, they're just right at 300 yards. But prior to that last drive, I mean, under 300 yards of total offense. And that is not productive enough to win consistently in this league. I mean, you start putting a lot of pressure on a lot of people when you're not able to control the ball better than what they have here through these first 6 games.
Well, certainly moving the ball and piling up yards has not been the Cowboys' problem. I mean, they are on the verge, and we'll see if it plays out this way. Certainly today the rushing numbers are not going to help. But they're on, pace anyway to rush for over 160 yards a game, throw for better than 250 yards per game. Only 2 teams have done that in the history of the NFL. We're going all the way back to the 1950s. Witten breaks out of a tackle to the 25 of first down.
Now I want to go back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier in this half, and Tony Romo and what he has meant to this offense. I mean, having another great game here today. And I'm not sure why people around the league tend to look at him and not think that he's been playing well this year. He's had a couple of poor games, and they've lost those games. But like I said, this is a team that has to have him play really well in order for them to win. I don't know that defensively that they can hold up and beat people in that type of game if he's not playing well. But when he's playing well, I'll tell you what, they're as good as anybody in the NFL.
Well, it's his 3rd 300-yard passing game this season. And they'll be 3-0 in those games. Now, there are a lot of players in this league under a lot of pressure, but nobody can speak to the pressure of being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys when expectations are high better than you can. It's a tough position to play in this town.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the expectations for us got high after we won. I mean, that's when they really kind of reached their apex. And for this team, and a lot of it is because of Jerry Jones's style. I mean, he brings in people. He's a polarizing figure. He's a guy who's about winning. And even though this team hasn't done much in January, the expectations, fairly or unfairly, are high.
Under 3:15 to play. Right at 3:15, Atlanta will spend a timeout. Well, the Cowboys said it over and over and over again until, quite frankly, you're almost tired of hearing about it. The fact that how badly they needed this game. There were a lot of people around the NFL that said, big deal. The 3 wins they had, the competition they played against, the 2 good teams they played this year. They lost to Denver and to the New York Giants. But today they played a team that came in 4-1, a playoff team from a year ago. And they looked really good today.
They sure did. And we talked about it coming in, the inconsistency that they had shown. And yet the 2 losses that they had against Denver and the Giants are 2 games that they look at and believe that they very easily could have won those games, and they could have. I mean, they could be sitting here at 6-0. I mean, they're not, and that's the nature of the NFL, but they certainly could have been.
Cowboys trying to put this one on ice. Closing in on the 3-minute mark. 34-21. Matt Ryan, who had not been sacked in nearly 18 quarters coming into the game today, has been sacked 4 times and has been pressured pretty regularly outside of an opening game drive when they marched right down the field and jumped out in front 7-0. Meanwhile, Tony Romo, his 3rd 300-yard passing game on the year. And again, Miles Austin coming off a 250-yard receiving yard performance against Kansas City 2 weeks ago. Piles up 171 receiving yards here today. Romo on this play somehow able to get out of trouble and throws a touchdown pass to Creighton. And then once he got it working with Austin, the Cowboys had it working. They got a punt return to really break this thing wide open by Creighton. And yes, a late touchdown for the Falcons, but quite honestly, a little late.
I think both of these teams came into this game feeling that if they got protection, that there were some things they could each do within their passing games. And Tony Romo got that protection, and he was right. They were able to do a lot of things within their passing game. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, he did not get the same kind of protection, and they struggled.
34-yard field goal try by Nick Folk. It's another weapon the Cowboys have. I know he only missed 2 field goals all of last year. He's missed 2 this year. They've got one of the better kickers in the league in Folk. Well, weekdays make lunchtime your new prime time. FoxSports.com brings you lunch with benefits. You can log on to check out new episodes of original sports shows delivered to your desktop every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Jay Glazer gets it started on Mondays. Brian Billick with Coach Speak on Tuesdays. In fact, Mike Smith will be his guest, who happens to be Brian Billick's brother-in-law.
That was an easy get, right?
Yeah, well,
I would hope.
I don't know. I guess if the sisters get along, you know how that family thing can get every now and again.
That's the ultimate brother-in-law in there, right? What a good man he is. And, you know, a guy who has really done a terrific job. I know this is going to be a tough flight back to Atlanta. They had some opportunities there early in that first half with some of the turnovers, had good field position, just weren't able to make the most of them. But, you know, we've discussed it before. A franchise that has not had back-to-back winning seasons, that's going to change this year, and it's going to change a lot here in the coming years.
Well, Weems figures why not. Down 37-21. He'll bring it out. And he's tackled at the 24. Let's check in from Los Angeles. Game break time to Kurt Menefee.
Well, the New Orleans Saints were down 24-3 late in the first half, and they've come all the way back. Drew Brees' 2-yard score gave them the lead. John Carney missed the extra point, but still it's the Saints on top 37-34. At the conclusion of your game, we'll get you to Miami for the finish of that one. Tom?
Thanks so much, Kurt. Minnesota beaten for the first time today. Indianapolis a winner today. Denver off this week. And New Orleans trying to come all the way back and get a win to stay undefeated. Ryan is intercepted by Orlando Scandrick.
Yeah, a little surprised that Matt Ryan is even still in the ball game. And, you know, when you get into this type of situation late in the game and you're down, you know, 16 points and you're just trying to make throws and that you wouldn't otherwise make, that when this game ends and you look back on it, you say, yeah, well, he had a couple of interceptions and he did, but yet this one was an attempt to just try to make something out of nothing.
Miles Austin has a lot to smile about.
Oh, I was just going to say, he does. He does. It's a heck of a 2-game performance he's put together.
Well, 2:09. Romo going to take a knee to run it down to the 2-minute warning. They're smiling in Big D on this Sunday. The Cowboys 2 minutes away from going to 4-2 on the year. So now we're officially at the 2-minute warning. Apparently Tony Romo and the Cowboys called a timeout, not realizing they couldn't run out the clock by taking a knee because the clock was going to stop at 2:09. So they put the clock back to 2:09. The run by Barber gets us to the 2-minute warning, and now the knee to begin to wind this one down. Coming up next, the OT presented by Lowe's. And that will carry you right up to join Joe Buck, Tim McCarver, and Ken Rosenthal from Yankee Stadium for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series. Never easy for that guy on a weekly basis either.
No, it's not. It's not easy on any of them. And we talked about it coming in, how the owner, Jerry Jones, had said that a win over the Atlanta Falcons today would legitimize his ball club. And, you know, so he's got to be feeling pretty good about this win. And, you know, wins are hard to come by in this league, but the Falcons, a playoff team from a year ago, and a team that we all believe is going to be there at the end. I would agree that this is a big win for a team that had been struggling, and quite honestly, it had a little self-doubt. They're in the Dallas Cowboys, wondering just how good they really were or are.
You know, during their bye week, everybody else in their division got beat. So without even playing, they were able to feel a lot better about themselves. As now, with a win here today, you know, the Giants have a big one later tonight at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Philadelphia will play Washington tomorrow, and Eagles coming off a loss in Oakland.
Well, when you're talking about an offense that came into this game averaging 420 yards of offense, and today they went over 400 yards again, you get that kind of production, you're going to be pretty hard to beat in this league.
Well, you got a lot of good stuff coming your way right here on Fox Sports. Final score here in Dallas, 37-21. We'll come back to Arlington and Cowboy Stadium, and we'll get you to some bonus coverage, then to the OT, and then to the ALCS. Stay with us. You're watching Fox Sports.
The Angels battled back. Now the ALCS heads to Yankee Stadium for crucial Game 6. Tonight after football, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Fox.